Hello, this is Lisa, CEO of Sight for White, welcoming you to this week's Talking News on Saturday, the 22nd of April 2023. It really was wonderful to receive the feedback that we have this week on the Warner's holiday that took place last week. The Warner's holiday has taken place 3 times now, where we have taken members to Norton Grange in Yarmouth, and they have been able to undertake activities such as shooting, yoga, swimming, archery. This year we had quite a diverse group of people go, and every single one of them has reported back what a wonderful week they had. A huge thank you from me to both Susan and Jasmine for giving their time up to go on these holidays. This week has also seen the arrival of the spring newsletter into the offices, which has all been packed and sent out. I look back now on the newsletter when I took over in March 20 and how different it now is. We have tried something new this time. We've gone for a yellow background rather than the white. I know from personal experience having the glare of the white can be quite daunting, so we've tried to soften it by putting a yellow background. Your feedback, as always, is very welcome. Looking forward to the spring, hopefully. Thank you. CEO Lisa, Sight for White.
This is Chris, reading an article from the Island Echo. Artificial intelligence used in Island e-scooter pilot launched by Beryl and Fujitsu. Beryl and Fujitsu are launching an exciting new research project designed to improve the efficiency and sustainability of the Isle of Wight shared e-scooter scheme. Using digital rehearsal technology, known as social digital twin, the project will aim to help the Beryl-operated scheme to increase vehicle availability at the most convenient spots while reducing operational costs and carbon emissions. Developed by global tech and business solutions firm Fujitsu, the new technology combines behavioural economic models and AI, allowing for simulations that mirror the behaviour of people in the real world. The simulations can not only reproduce biased behaviours, including overestimation of losses, but also indirect factors such as weather. This enables them to more accurately predict the impact of initiatives and incentives on people's transport choices, such as offering discounted fees for users who return e-scooters to specific bays. It will also be able to more accurately predict how changes to transportation will affect operating costs and contribute towards reducing Beryl's overall carbon footprint. Beryl's Chief Technology Officer, Sasha Manson-Smith, said, "We're really excited to be working alongside an industry leader, using the latest simulation technology to help boost the efficiency of our schemes and significantly improve the user experience." Social digital twin will help Beryl to accurately predict how changes in human behaviour interact with evolving conditions in the environment, providing us with even higher levels of forecasting accuracy. We can use this extra knowledge to introduce scheme improvements that support our aim of encouraging as many people as possible to take up sustainable transport options. As a B Corp registered company, we constantly monitor and evaluate our environmental impact, and such accurate forecasting can also help us develop ways to further reduce it. Fujitsu Research Fellow and Head of Converging Technologies Laboratory, Daku Masumoto, said, "Fujitsu is committed to initiatives that build trust in society through innovation, and our new digital rehearsal technology is an example of how we can help better inform public policy and business planning." The trials on the Isle of Wight use digital rehearsal technology to test in advance the effects of people switching from cars to e-scooters. Our ultimate aim is to bring business benefits to Beryl, reduce the damaging environmental and social effects of car use, inform transport policy on the Isle of Wight, and positively contribute to the Isle of Wight's wider economy. In the future, Fujitsu plans to leverage the results of this project to support the Sustainability Transformation (SX) of mobility service providers and contribute to the realisation of sustainable, fair and diverse society through converging technologies that combine computer sciences with the knowledge from the humanities and social sciences. This is part of wider initiatives which Fujitsu is taking as a lead technical partner for National Digital Twin Programme, which aims to develop techniques to use digital twin models to benefit society, the economy, business and the environment, supported by Her Majesty's Treasury. The programme is running a demonstrator work in the Isle of Wight, which is a fundamental element of the socio-technical change aspects of the programme. The first test simulations using social digital twin will be run on the island in May, with a more comprehensive programme to follow over the summer. The island was chosen due to its geographically isolated location. The model, which will use statistical data such as the population by area on the Isle of Wight and open data, including weather data of the island, data on movement of people between specific areas of the island, including time of movements, as well as data on the movement of e-scooters provided by Beryl. It will not use personal data.
This is Brian reading an article from the Island Echo. The Wave Project and Salt Rock brings surf therapy tour to the Isle of Wight. The UK's leading surf therapy charity, the Wave Project, and surfing brand Salt Rock will be hosting a free talk at Cafe Isola in Newport next month. According to the NHS, 1 in 6 children under 18 have reported a mental health issue. A national lockdown in 2020-21 and the recent cost of living crisis has only increased the number of mental health issues and referrals, in particular spikes in anxiety and depression. The Wave Project aims to change this and for the last 13 years has been running pioneering surf therapy programs across the UK to help children and young people struggling with anxiety and depression. This unique NHS recognised therapy combines the therapeutic elements of the ocean, the adventure of surfing and supportive culture of acceptance to help. The talk here on the Isle of Wight is part of a nationwide tour that sees the Wave Project and Salt Rock bring surf therapy to communities across the UK via a dedicated tour of talks. The Wave Project founder and CEO, Joe Taylor, will speak about what surf therapy is, the role of the charity has played in mental and emotional health of young people, and its ambitious plans for expansion. He has said, surf therapy has grown from a pilot scheme in Cornwall into a global phenomenon. At the Wave Project, we are now thinking about how this amazing form of therapy can be developed further to reach more young people across the UK. The talks are an opportunity to discuss these ideas with people who may benefit from surf therapy themselves or are interested in getting more involved. We are super grateful to Salt Rock for supporting these talks and helping us to broaden understanding of surf therapy. The event, which is to be held on Thursday the 18th of May, is free and can be booked via Eventbrite at www.eventbrite.co.uk.
Mindless vandals destroy Isle of Wight airport beehives. From Isle of Wight Radio, read by Joyce. An act of mindless vandalism has seen beehives at the Isle of Wight airport in Sandown damaged. Beekeepers at the site were tasked with cleaning up the mess yesterday, Tuesday, following the incident. The damage to the beehives, which pay their landing fees in the form of honey sold to visiting pilots, has left 2 of them no longer usable, with a third saved after extensive efforts from the team. A spokesperson for the airport said, "It would seem the culprits were trying to steal the honey with a rake, bottle and bag found nearby. We very much hope the bees chased them away." Fortunately, the other group of hives are still intact, and we are now working out how best to secure the area and allow our wonderful friends to enjoy the wildflowers in peace. A CCTV system will be installed as a result.
This article is from the Ireland Echo and is read by Howard and concerns Aldi's donation of 270 meals to good causes on the island. Aldi donated 270 meals to local good causes on the Isle of Wight to help people in need over the Easter school holidays. The supermarket stores across the UK paired up with local charities, community groups and food banks through its partnership with community giving platform Neighbourly. More than 550,000 meals were donated throughout the UK, with almost 2,000 UK causes benefiting from the initiative. Liz Fox, Corporate Responsibility Director for Aldi UK, said, "We understand that the school holidays can be an especially challenging time for families, particularly amid the current cost of living crisis. Neighbourly carries out such vital work in the community, so we're proud to be able to support them and the charities, food banks and community groups they work with on the island in their efforts to support those who may be struggling." Steve Butterworth, CEO of Neighbourly, added, "The impact of the cost of living crisis has intensified, meaning that the demand on food banks is continuing to increase, particularly during the school holidays. The donations from Aldi were a lifeline for many and provided the essential boost good causes need to continue supporting their local communities."
This is Chris reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. Age UK calling all adrenaline junkies for 50th anniversary skydive. Age UK, Isle of Wight, is looking for adventurous fundraisers to take on the challenge of a sponsored tandem skydive from over 12,000 feet to mark the charity's 50th anniversary. The jump, going from Sandown Airport on Tuesday, August the 8th, will offer each jumper an unrivalled aerial view of the Isle of Wight. Every skydiver will experience free-fall adrenaline at speeds approaching 120 miles per hour, followed by a stunning canopy ride back down to earth. Helen Randall, Age UK Isle of Wight fundraising officer, said, "This year we have teamed up with Reno Drain to support brave jumpers who want to tick something off their bucket list whilst helping out a local charity." Age UK Isle of Wight is an independent charity, and 100% of all fundraising support we receive stays on the island to help us enable older people to live well independently. Brave fundraisers can secure their seat in the plane today with an £80 payment and a commitment to fundraise a minimum sponsorship of £400 for Age UK Isle of Wight. Each skydiver will be provided with a fundraising pack and will be supported along the way to help them reach their goal. You can find out more about the skydive or how to register to take part online. You can also contact Helen Randall on 525282 or email fundraising@agekiw.org.uk to find out more.
This is Brian reading an article from the Island Echo. Ryde Police Station could reopen to the public under new plans. Ryde Police Station could reopen to the public to increase the visibility of the force on the island. Hampshire and Isle of Wight Police and Crime Commissioner, PCC, Donna Jones, says she wants to increase the visibility of the force on the island, which could mean a currently closed to the public station reopens. Currently, only one Newport Police Station is open for public inquiries at its front desk. The idea is part of a £2 million scheme, which has also seen the PCC announce the reopening of Central, Portsmouth and Gosport after refurbishment works. A similar plan is underway for the island, but no decision has been made over which station it could be. Isle of Wight Council Cabinet Member for Community Protection, Councillor Karen Lucioni, said reopening a police station was her first priority when she came into the role. The previous PCC, Michael Lane, closed them, but Councillor Lucioni said Mrs Jones and the new Chief Constable, Scott Chilton, are more about policing on the ground, calling it a real change of feeling. The Ryde Town Councillor said a lot of residents had called for Ryde Police Station to return, arguing it would create trust again in the police. Police on the island work in offices in Ryde, Yarmouth, Cowes, Shanklin and Ventnor, as well as Newport.
Island Roads slams, quote, inaccurate, unquote, study, naming Isle of Wight roads among the worst in the UK. From Isle of Wight Radio, read by Joyce. Claims the Isle of Wight is among the worst parts of the UK for road repairs have been slammed by Island Roads. New research by Bristol Street Motors suggests that many of the island's roads pose a serious hazard, with more than 2/3 featuring dangerous, unfixed potholes. But Island Roads has labelled this, quote, inaccurate, quote, and, quote, out of date, quote. This study analyses self-reported pothole data, keeping track of open and resolved road hazard reports in England to find the fixed road rate for each local authority. A spokesman for Island Roads criticised the study, saying, quote, Island Roads were surprised and disappointed to see this report, which is based on inaccurate and out-of-date data and provides a false reflection both of the island's road network and our maintenance of it. The survey relies on data on potholes being reported to a website which misrepresents the absence of data as incomplete repairs, which is not the case. It also fails to consider the historic nature of the data, with some reports dating back to 2007, 6 years prior to the PFI contract, which has delivered significant improvement to much of the island's road network. Island Roads uses the Fix My Street online system and urges people to use this site, which also charts the progress of reports and allows visibility of customer-reported issues, as well as those captured by our dedicated highway inspection team. Department for Transport figures show the island currently has the third best condition local authority managed A roads and joint first condition B and C roads in England. According to the study, Many road hazard reports have been left unresolved on the island. It says only potholes deeper than 40 millimetres and wider than 150 millimetres are typically repaired in a timely manner.
This article is read by Howard and is from the Island Echo regarding Ryde Skate Park. A popular Isle of Wight skate park has been closed for nearly 2 weeks after vandals damaged the wooden ramps. Extensive repairs are said to be needed at the Ryde Seafront Skate Park, and for health and safety reasons, it has to remain closed until the repairs can be made. With funding pressures and the need to find new cash streams, the future of the skate park is to be discussed at the end of the month. Ryde Town Council, that's RTC, maintain the park, but in recent months halved the skate park's future budget, while a decision is made about its future. It has said it has no intention of closing the skate park, but a plan is needed to make the existing ageing structures safe in the short term. A council spokesman said the current damage was not caused by genuine skate park users, as they are first and best line of protection for the park, as they have a vested interest in keeping it as safe as possible. As previously recorded in the Echo, this is not the first time that vandalism has caused the skate park to close. The council warned users to not jump the locked gate or force entry, as closure signs keep being torn down. A survey conducted earlier this year asked Ryde residents what they think should happen to the skate park. More than half of the residents said the council should invest in a concrete skate park, which would cost roughly £200,000 and be funded by a loan. The option the council opted for, receiving 20% of public support in the consultation, was instead to cut funding. It would reduce from £15,000 last year to £7,500 and provide one last year of funding. When that runs out, RTC would close the skate park and look for further grant funding. Another option suggested closing the skate park from April until a suitable alternative was found. An RTC spokesperson said they're now exploring options for a new, improved and extended concrete skate park and looking at grant funding opportunities. The skate park users group will meet to discuss the improvements needed and help formulate an interim plan for RTC to get the park open as soon as possible. The Sovereign Skate Park at the Arc in Oakfield is currently open.
Ryde Pierhead reopening date announced. From Isle of Wight Radio, read by Joyce. A date has been announced for the completion of work between Ryde Pierhead and Ryde Esplanade stations. Network Rail and South Western Railway, SWR, say the stations will open no later than June the 10th, in time for the start of the summer holidays and Isle of Wight Festival. Work is progressing well and is now entering the final stages, with engineers reinstating 172 metres of track and 280 sleepers following the repairs and painting of the steelwork. The 143-year-old 686-metre-long Victorian pier has been closed to Island Line services since October 2022 for a programme of steelwork strengthening and track renewals. High tides and severe weather conditions through autumn and winter resulted in the programme timeline being extended by more than 2 months. Despite this, Island Line customers have been able to benefit from SWR operating 2 trains per hour between Ryde Esplanade and Shanklin stations since April the 2nd. From June the 10th, this service will be extended to include Ryde Pierhead station every hour. Further follow-up work to extend the life of the pier will be carried out over a number of weeks in October when fewer customers are travelling. Engineers will install 396 metres of new track and 660 sleepers, while also realigning the track to provide smoother journeys along the pier and renewing signalling equipment to improve reliability. Mark Dunn, SWR's Island Line General Manager, said, "We're very pleased that the line between Ryde Pierhead and Ryde Esplanade will reopen on Saturday 10th of June to support the many tourists and festival goers we're expecting. Once complete, these works will significantly improve customer journeys on the island's iconic pier, and we are grateful to our customers for their ongoing patience."
This is Brian reading an article from the Island Echo. Masks off at St Mary's as COVID cases remain low. Visitors to St Mary's Hospital and other NHS sites are once again no longer required to wear face masks in most clinical areas, unless it is their personal preference to do so. To continue to protect those who are most vulnerable and at high risk, the wearing of face masks will continue where immunocompromised patients are treated. For example, in oncology, haematology, intensive care, and chemotherapy departments. These changes have been made due to the rate of positive COVID-19 cases remaining at a consistently low level in the community, and is in line with national guidance on the mandated use of face masks in healthcare settings. It remains a priority to help keep each other, patients and the community safe, and in order to continue to protect those who are vulnerable and of high risk, the following guidance must be followed. Visitors are asked to stay away if they have respiratory or COVID-19 symptoms. Visitors who are immunocompromised should continue to wear a mask if this can be tolerated. Visitors may be asked to wear a face mask for specific reasons, including in higher risk clinical areas such as the respiratory department and intensive care unit. Visitors should speak to the ward or department if unsure whether or not to wear a face mask. Vulnerable and high-risk patients and visitors can ask staff members to wear a face mask, and these will continue to be available to those who choose to wear one. All visitors should continue to sanitize their hands on entering and leaving the hospital and ward or department. Many people will continue to choose to wear a face mask as their personal preference, and this decision will be fully supported by the Trust. Every entrance will also continue to have a supply of masks and hand gel for people to use as they enter our hospital site. Juliet Pearce, Director of Nursing, Midwifery and AHP, said, "Thank you to everyone who has helped us to keep our vulnerable patients and staff safe by following the infection control guidance in our organisation. The decision to stand down the use of mask wearing in our clinical areas is in response to the number of cases remaining at a low level on the island. We will continue to monitor the level of COVID-19 in our community, and our guidance may change again at any time should we see an increase in cases."
This article is read by Howard. It is from Isle of Wight Radio concerning problems at Freshwater. The developers behind an Isle of Wight housing scheme, which has so far been halted over a dispute about yellow lines, are looking to make changes. Nearly 20 months after it was approved, Tallulah Estates is looking to push through the 44-home Birch Close development in Freshwater. They're arguing they don't need double yellow lines installed on Birch Close, but Island Roads say they do to ensure road safety and unimpeded access to the development. It comes after the Isle of Wight Council's Cabinet introduced a new policy last year and threw out the parking orders, which meant the double yellow lines could not be installed. The conditional planning permission granted for the development required double yellow lines to be agreed before building work could start and stop people living in the new properties if they weren't installed. To allow the development to progress, Tallulah Estates is asking the council to remove the necessity for the parking restrictions. In planning documents submitted to the authority, the developers say there was never any need for parking restrictions on Birch Close. They carried out a survey and found the demand for on-street parking in the area was low, and other highway proposals like installing a raised tabletop, that's a speed restriction, and narrowing the entrance road would reinforce the low-speed environment. Island Roads has objected to the application, saying the highway measures are still essential, and without them the development would not have safe and suitable access. You can view the application 23/624/RVC on the Council's planning portal. Comments can be submitted until May 16th.
Hello there, this is Madeline.
And this is Jerry. Before we start the second part of the Talking News, here is this week's society news for the week commencing 24th of April 2023. Swimming will resume on Monday at Medina Pool between 1:15pm and 2:15pm. The group have the whole pool to enjoy, and so even if you cannot swim lengths, there is plenty of room to relax in the water and have gentle exercise. The cost is £5.
Yoga is on Tuesday at Millbrook between 1:45 and 2:45pm. Refreshments will be served afterwards. The cost is £3. Please note this is a new time.
Coffee and chat will be on Wednesday between 10am and 11:30am here at Millbrook House. Please come along and chat with members, friends and staff. Next week, the 3rd of May, Laura Guljar, our ECLO from St Mary's, will be joining us.
On Wednesday, we welcome the Needles National Coast Watch Institution to give a talk to our new group Eye on Social. This is at Millbrook House starting at 2pm. The cost is £3 to include refreshments. This is open to members, volunteers and friends.
Striders on Friday the 28th around the Godsill area. If you would like more details, please contact the office.
Our King's Coronation Party on Thursday, May the 4th at Wenders Hall, St John's Road, Newport, between 2pm and 4:30pm. Afternoon tea will be served along with entertainment. The cost is £5. Once again, this is open to all members, volunteers, family and friends. Numbers are limited.
The numbers are filling fast, so if you would like to attend, please call the office.
For any information of the activities or events mentioned, please do not hesitate to call the office on 522205.
And here are some news items. Composer asked by King Charles to write coronation music. A Brit and Emmy-nominated composer from the Isle of Wight has been commissioned by King Charles III to write music for his coronation. Sarah Class, who has composed musical scores for David Attenborough's Natural World programmes and National Geographic documentaries, was personally invited by King Charles to write music for the coronation. After moving to the island from Watford when she was a child, the Isle of Wight inspired her two passions, nature and music, which influences her work. Speaking of her pride in attending the coronation, Sarah said, "I feel very honoured and privileged and excited to be part of it. I think for me it's not just a contribution, I just feel so happy. I'm lending my support through my music. That is the ultimate for me." Sarah first came to the attention of the then Prince of Wales after writing to him and mentioning his visit to her school when she was a child, and then detailing her work with music. King Charles wrote back and asked her to write music for the COP26 Climate Change Summit in Glasgow. Rhythm of the Earth terracotta theme was created with her son. Now based in Bristol, Sarah is an accomplished musician and songwriter. receiving an Emmy nomination for her work on the BBC series Madagascar and David Attenborough's Africa series. Following her success at COP26, Sarah was commissioned by King Charles to create one of the 12 new works of music to be performed in Westminster Abbey. She said, "When I first heard about it, I was extremely inspired. I feel very honoured and privileged, of course. The first thing that came to my mind was, how can I just create the most beautiful piece of music I've ever written? It's got to be absolutely amazing, so I just started getting inspired very quickly with it. I was really feeling that I wanted to do something on the level of something like Dvorak's Song to the Moon, something so beautiful and uplifting. I really hope that I've captured that."
£2 million arts bonanza. Details have been unveiled for a near £2 million refurbishment of a former department store. The Elizabeth Pack department store on Cross Street, Ryde, has become home in recent years to Shademakers UK, who design, make and perform in carnivals, including last year's Queen's Platinum Jubilee celebrations. The clothing store closed in 2016, but the creative company has brought life back to the Grade 2 listed building as a workspace and more recently a venue for theatre productions. In partnership with the Isle of Wight Council, the group has been successful in securing £1,969,458 of government funding to turn the store into a cultural venue known as Department. It has been described as a space to dream big, create, display, perform, learn and exchange skills, and feel welcome. Through refurbishment, extension and alterations to the building, more creative pursuits could be followed, including a performance space for dance, acting and yoga, retail booths, display areas, shared workspaces, meeting rooms and an audio studio. It could provide facilities for groups and individuals who usually work behind closed doors to create and learn with each other and the public, the plans say, as well as host community events. The former cafe could be enlarged to offer cookery classes as well as a food and drink on a proposed outdoor terraced area. The front of the building could be lightly repaired and decorated with new signage and numbers to reintroduce the frontage but pay homage to the history of the building. The PAX sign at the top of the building could be retained as well. The rear entrance could be refreshed and modernised to encourage people to pass through the building and see what is happening on their route to the centre of the town. Planning agents, Turner Works, say a resourceful design approach to prioritise opportunities for activity over an expensive appearance has been taken due to the limited budget. They say the proposal has been developed to enliven and extend the creative history of the Central Ryde building. You can view the plans. Comments can be made until May the 16th.
Duchess visits the island. The Duchess of Gloucester carried out a number of engagements across the Isle of Wight on Wednesday. At St Mary's Hospital, the Royal officially opened the newly built Isle of Wight NHS Trust ambulance station, taking a guiding tour of the facility and meeting operational staff and teams behind the running of the service. In Freshwater, she visited the West Wight Dementia Friendly Choir, which is made up of people living with dementia, their family members and some carers. The Duchess arrived by helicopter and was driven to Freshwater Methodist Church, where Pam Wedgwood, musical director, introduced her to the choir's volunteers. The Duchess chatted informally, making everyone feel very special and at ease, said Kathy Hepburn for the group. She also spent time with a group of children who attended our choir and joined in with songs the choir had been rehearsing for the King's coronation service at St Mary's, the Virgin Church in Cowes. Heading from one side of the island to the other, Her Royal Highness later made her way to Sandown and Shanklin Golf Club, showing her support for the Island Games team, which is travelling to compete in Guernsey later this year. Among those to meet the Duchess was 30-year-old Dr. Caris Jones, who joined the White Tri-team in January of last year and is representing the Isle of Wight in triathlon. The East Cowes athlete said she was excited to play a part in her first Island Games and to take in the atmosphere and support other island sports. She said she felt honoured and privileged to meet the Royal. At the end of her visit, the Duchess of Gloucester gave thanks to the team's two longest standing main sponsors, ICI Touch and Red Funnel. She thanked both Colin Ringer, Chief Executive of the ICR Touch, and Fran Collins, Chief Executive of Red Funnel, for their support.
Man killed family dog and tried to murder his wife. A man killed the family dog and tried to murder his own wife, a jury has determined. Michael Orton of Newnham Road, Ryde, appeared before a judge and jury at Salisbury Crown Court this week. He had indicated not guilty pleas to charges of attempted murder and causing unnecessary suffering to an animal when he appeared at the Isle of Wight Magistrates Court in October. Unfit to stand based on his mental condition, a jury determined the 60-year-old had carried out the acts. He was found to have slit the throat of Cora the dog, causing her to die, and to have attempted to murder his wife of more than 30 years. Police had been called to an address off Newnham Road on June the 20th last year. Orton's wife had suffered injuries, but they were not deemed to be life-threatening. Orton was arrested at the scene and subsequently taken to hospital for treatment for injuries sustained during the incident. Now the case is determined, Orton will appear at the Isle of Wight Crown Court for sentencing on May the 19th.
Apology from Sainsbury's over discarded ties. Sainsbury's has apologised after discarded cable ties were left on the ground by staff members, despite a litter bin being just a few feet away. On Monday, April the 10th, a member of Vectis Wombles, Adrian, visited Sainsbury's in Newport and discovered the plastic cut cable ties on the ground near the advertising banner the ties had been used for. Adrian informed a member of Sainsbury's staff and was assured the rubbish would be dealt with. The next day, Vectis Wombles Gail and Wendy decided to follow up on the situation and found the cable ties still on the ground. They pointed out it was very near a litter bin. They gathered up the waste and took them into the store. A Vectis Wombles spokesperson told the county press, "How embarrassing for Sainsbury's. It was suggested to the manager that staff who deal with this particular job should be informed and have some training." They also suggested Sainsbury's switch to reusable cable ties. A Sainsbury's spokesperson said, "Customer feedback is important to us. We've disposed of the rubbish and we apologise that this did not meet our usual high standards."
Shock details of pub's low food hygiene report. Decaying short ribs, mouldy pipes and a poor standard of hygiene have all been found at a popular island pub. The Sloop Inn, a Stonehouse Group-owned pizza restaurant and carvery, was inspected last month by Isle of Wight Council environmental health officers, who found improvement was necessary. A Sloop Inn spokesperson said they were disappointed to receive the rating of 2 out of 5 and have acted on the feedback. The inspector's report found issues at the Wootton Bridge eatery, including concerns over the way meat was being checked in the carvery area, failure to implement the front of house cleaning schedule, flaky ceiling paint in the kitchen, and damaged flooring in the pizza area. Inspectors also raised questions about the validity of records, after they were informed of errors in entries and saw inconsistencies. Overall, the general standard of hygiene was poor, with inspectors finding old decaying spare ribs in the sauce station cupboard and an old container with dried sauce, which showed the area had not been cleaned for a considerable period of time. A very dirty drink station which needed a full deep clean around the work surfaces and walls, where the paint had become dirty and stained. The inside of the cupboard was also dirty. The area behind the main bar was dirty and had not been cleaned for a considerable time and needed a deep clean, as mould was showing on the outside of the drinks pipes. Kitchen air vents were dirty and dusty, as was the skylight. Wheels on the carvery ovens had a build-up of food debris and grease, as well as other kitchen equipment. The floor of the walk-in freezer was black with dirt in large areas, and food was being stored on the floor. The floor of the vegetable store was dirty, and there was an area showing mould. The drain in the cellar was dirty with old food, a small amount of mould inside the ice machine. The hot holding unit had old food debris on the underneath of the light fittings. A fryer was said to be out of use, but there was a pool of oil underneath. Objects preventing easy access to the wash-hand basin in the kitchen. Responding to the report, a spokesperson for the Sloop Inn said they are committed to operating at the highest standards and have acted on the concerns raised, principally around the record keeping and improving kitchen equipment. The pub said it would welcome the opportunity for a re-inspection at the earliest opportunity.
Time change for Fastcat. Isle of Wight ferry firm Whitelink has confirmed its 5:45am Fastcat will leave Ryde 5 minutes earlier at 5:40 from May the 22nd. Its Lymington to Yarmouth sailing times will also be changing from next month. The Cross Solent operator's announcement comes after train company South Western Railway, SWR, announced plans to tweak its departure times. The 6:15am Portsmouth Harbour to London Waterloo train will depart at 6:10am from May the 22nd. The 5:45am Fastcat docks in Portsmouth at 6:07am, which would have left commuters the challenge of a quick sprint up the tunnel. Now, Whitelink has confirmed its early Fastcat will instead leave Ryde at 5:40am, giving islanders more time to get to the train. SWR's Steve Tyler said, "Our advice to customers is to check before travelling, as those changes mean a small number of services will depart slightly earlier or later than the December 2022 timetable." Train departures from Lymington are also being tweaked, as the county press previously reported. For West Wight passengers travelling between Yarmouth and Hampshire's Lymington, 2 trains will be delayed by 13 minutes. From May the 22nd, the 9:20am Brockenhurst to Lymington Pier service will start at 9:42am. Meanwhile, the 9:44am Lymington Pier to Brockenhurst train will leave at 9:57am. In response, some of Whitelink's Sunday night vehicle ferries between Yarmouth and Lymington will leave 5 minutes earlier between 6pm and 8pm from April the 30th. Whitelink Chief Executive Keith Greenfield said, "These minor changes will benefit customers who want to make connections with rail services. Our decision follows meetings with Bob Seeley, MP, and discussions with SWR. The rail company has also made adjustments to its timetable."
Charity worker set to retire. The Footprint Trust's founder, General Manager Ray Harrington-Vale, is retiring after more than 2 decades. Paying tribute, the team behind the charity says it will continue to operate and there are plans for expansion. Founded for education in 2002, the Footprint Trust has aimed to promote sustainable living linked to reducing the island's ecological and carbon footprint. Ray is credited with building bridges between businesses, charities and councils. He has helped raise £6 million in donations, grants and help in kind to support local fuel-poor households. It is estimated around 30,000 people have been supported with guidance and grants. When the charity started, Isle of Wight recycling rates were low. The Trust has worked with waste contractors to drive up these figures, delivering workshops in schools and at events. Ray has also assisted other charities with raising funds. In 2022, Ray returned to part-time nursing, helping to vaccinate islanders against COVID-19. Paying tribute to colleagues past and present, Ray said, "Without their help, support and ideas, the Trust would not be where it is today. Their dedication is amazing." He also thanked family and friends.
Man o' war washes up. What was thought to be a dangerous Portuguese man o' war was found washed up on an Isle of Wight beach on April the 13th. The discovery was made by Islander Helen Beale and her partner Ira Jones from Ryde. It was found on the sand at the high water mark on the beach at Brook. Helen told the county press the colours of the creature were stunning, but warned caution to dog walkers and children. She said, "We were fossa hunting and were just on our way back to the wooden steps. It was on the beach to the left with your back to the steps. The tentacles were incredibly long and the colours were stunning. The beach had so many families with dogs and children, we thought we should post it on Facebook, as the tentacles were so long and it was so pretty, someone could easily get hurt." Portuguese men of war, also known as floating terrors, are rarely deadly to people, but their sting can be painful and can cause welts on exposed skin. They can still sting weeks after washing ashore. Helen said she has reported the sighting to the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Wildlife Trust.
Coveted prize for campsite. An award-winning family-run island campsite has been named Best Caravan Park in the South East in a coveted Practical Motorhome and Practical Caravan magazines competition. Whitefield Forest Touring Park on Brading Road near Ryde was named regional winner for South East England. It has also been included in the Top 100 Sites Guide 2023. Voted for by guests, Whitefield Forest site is surrounded by woodland and countryside and has its own woodland walk and squirrel hide. Owners Pat, Simon and Louise Glover said, "During our 16 seasons at the park, we have worked hard to make sure we look after and develop the park sympathetically to support the native trees and wildlife on the site, as well as providing a high-quality place for people to come and stay and explore the Isle of Wight and all it has to offer. We have lots of red squirrels in the forest and try to support them by maintaining a squirrel-friendly environment and providing them with food throughout the year. Visitors to the park love the chance to see red squirrels in their natural environment."
Pitcher remains as Isle of Wight councillor. A jailed councillor has retained his seat at County Hall on the Isle of Wight, it has been revealed. Earlier this month, Darryl Pitcher was sent to prison for historic child rape offences, which took place when he was a teenager. He was sentenced to more than 2 years behind bars, with half of that time spent in jail and the other half on licence. An Isle of Wight Council spokesperson has since confirmed the authority has no power to remove him from office unless he resigns or becomes statutory disqualified under the Local Government Act. It means he continues to represent Wootton Bridge, where he was elected in 2021. Pitcher resigned as a member of the Vectis Party, for which he was the only member on the Isle of Wight Council, but currently retains his seat as an independent. Under the Local Government Act, a councillor is disqualified if they are sentenced to 3 months or more in prison, but the Isle of Wight Council confirmed that cannot take effect until a legal appeal against his conviction has been dropped or abandoned.
Pennyfeather's consultation plea. Those behind a major housing scheme on the Isle of Wight need to fix its problems and talk to residents, the local councillor has said. Warren Drew for Ride South East said the controversial Pennyfeathers development was not fit for purpose after detailed plans were rejected by the Isle of Wight Council last week. Councillor Drew also slammed the scheme and those behind it, Hepburn's Planning Consultancy and Smallbrook Developments, for what he called a lack of consultation. He said the developers had fundamentally failed to engage with the community and had not taken on board their concerns. Had they listened, Councillor Drew said, the planning committee may have been able to look more favourably at the scheme. The last public consultation held on the development was in 2017, and residents said they have no communication with anyone involved in the project since. It was not for the planning committee to mend the application and make it palatable, Councillor Drew said, after multiple conditions were proposed to fix the scheme. The committee should be judging what is before them, he said, adding when something requires so much work to make it acceptable, it is no longer the developer's plan. Speaking about the future of the site, and should another plan come back, Councillor Drew said he would welcome it, adding the land is suitable for development. A new scheme would have to be well thought out, he said, and would need consultation with the local community. Ryde residents are mostly of the view we need housing in the town, particularly starter and affordable homes, Councillor Drew said. We have a crisis, particularly in the rental sector, where 2/3 of private landlords have left the market. If the 900 homes were of the right affordability, I would say yes, they are needed. I'm not against development, and I would welcome genuinely affordable and social rented accommodation. Neighbouring councillor Michael Lilly said Pennyfeathers could have been inspirational with desperately needed affordable homes. Instead, what was presented was painting by numbers and housing chosen from a very poor catalogue, he said.
Plans for escape room are rejected. Plans for an escape room in a former Isle of Wight Council building have been dropped as demolition looms. Random Rooms wanted to transform Thompson House on Sandy Lane, Gatcombe, but County Hall rejected the bid, saying it did not meet the criteria proposed for the site. The land is earmarked for 15 houses, and the Isle of Wight Council has received £135,000 in government funding under the Brownfield Release Fund to make the site suitable for housing. Posting on social media, Random Rooms said it was disappointed, but the news was not unexpected. It said it was already discussing other new ideas. The last council services left the site in 2022, and the green light was given to demolish the former educational centre. The contract for demolition started on Monday, April the 17th, and discussions are ongoing about what will happen to the land. Developers are being sought to take on the new build project on approximately 2.4 hectares, which is currently up for sale.
Stab threat at holiday park. A man who threatened to stab a holiday park bar manager with a knife after being refused more alcohol has narrowly avoided jail. Dominic Dunford of Old Road, East Cowes, appeared at the Isle of Wight Crown Court on Monday, April the 18th. At a previous hearing, the 23-year-old admitted threatening another person with a bladed article in East Cowes on September the 5th, 2021. Prosecutor Margia Mostafa told the court Dunford had been drinking at Waverley Park. He became abusive and members of staff had to call their bar manager, who asked Dunford to leave. Dunford was told he would no longer be served, and he continued to be verbally abusive, this time toward the bar manager. Miss Mustafa said he eventually left, but returned, producing a knife and threatening to stab the bar manager. The victim felt the threat was real, froze on the spot, and feared he might be harmed. Some of the incident was caught on camera, and Dunford was later arrested. The victim, through a statement read out in court, revealed he thought about the incident on a weekly basis and was worried something similar might happen again. Jim Osborne, defending, said Dunford pleaded guilty on the day of his trial and was remorseful. He said he expressed empathy for the victim and other members of staff and described 2021 as the worst year of his life. He never managed to get over the untimely death of his older brother, and this led to binge drinking and drug use. The court heard Dunford had managed to turn his life around, achieving an engineering qualification, completing a painting and decorating apprenticeship, and securing employment with his father. Judge David Melville described Dunford's conduct as disgraceful and said it was not the first time he had committed this type of offence. Judge Melville told Dunford cannabis was a serious drug which turns some people into psychopaths, and while was an act of complete stupidity, he accepted he was young and immature. Dunford was handed an 18-month prison term, suspended for 2 years, to include 15 rehabilitation days and 200 hours of unpaid work. He must pay £250 compensation.
Police are seeking evidence after a swan attack. The West White Neighbourhood Policing Team would like to identify and speak with some people that have been pictured as part of their ongoing inquiries into an incident in Freshwater. Police received a report at 7:41 p.m. on Friday, April the 7th, that a dog had chased and attacked swans near the causeway. 2 swans have subsequently died. A police spokesman said, "We appreciate the image we have is not the best quality. Perhaps you know these people and can recognise them from their clothing and the dark-coloured dog which can be seen in the picture. If you know the people pictured, or if this is you, please contact the police on 101 quoting 442 301 37683.
What a load of rubbish. What a result. More than 30 bags of rubbish have been collected in a litter pick at Downside Recreation Ground. Nappies, broken glass, tins and wrappers were among the items found. Members of the public, the Vectis Wombles, Newport and Carisbrooke councillors and staff, Pan Together volunteers and local police community support officers joined in with the mammoth effort. Organisers say special thanks went to the 5 young people who took part: Dennis, Leonie, William, Eden and Finlay. Biffa collected 32 bags of rubbish.
Well, what a fantastic find. A couple got an unexpected surprise when they discovered a well thought to be hundreds of years old beneath their kitchen floor. Cody and Kieran Allen bought their property on West Street, Newport in 2021. The 2-bedroomed house was the couple's first full renovation project. With help from friends and family, Cody and Kieran, who runs I'll Build, painstakingly revamped every room. All that was left to do was to get sign-off from a planning inspector, who requested the floor in their newly extended kitchen be pulled up to check for adequate footings. What laid below left the couple in complete shock. Beneath the laid flagstones was a hidden well, said Cody. There is no evidence in the house's deeds that it was ever existed. The house was originally built between 1900 to 1929, and the documents are only dated from the 50s onwards, when it was divided in two. The well is thought to be more than 200 years old, so the couple have decided to embrace it, turning it into a feature in their kitchen. They have rebuilt it up to 18 courses of the bricks and wired in the lights under the kitchen worktop. To finish, a frame and glass has been ordered to cover the well, allowing them to walk over it.
Friends take on two massive challenges. Two friends, both employees at Ventnor's The Royal Hotel, have each completed incredible challenges. After training together, Joe Knowles and Hannah Steptoe have run and climbed their way to huge achievements. Joe Knowles is back from a 12-day return trek to Everest Base Camp, where she reached 5,364 metres, equivalent to more than 12 Empire State Buildings. Just 3 days later, Hannah Steptoe ran her first marathon, covering 26.2 miles in Brighton on Sunday, April the 2nd. Hannah was running for charity Ambitious About Autism and finished in under 5 hours. Hannah said, "My road to the 26.2 miles has been a personal challenge, but also the chance to raise money and awareness of a charity that has recently become close to my heart. Knowing the money raised so far and my family waiting at the end carried me to the finish line." Joe said, "Having previously completed the Inca Trail and climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, this was my last big mountain to conquer and to tick off my bucket list, so I am ecstatic to have experienced these incredible adventures." To support Hannah's charity cause and donate to Ambitious About Autism, visit justgiving.com/fundraising/Hannah Steptoe 03.
Motorbike Classics. The annual Vintage and Classic Motorcycle Show was held at Ventnor Winter Gardens. Despite it being a rainy day, 35 bikes, half the normal number, turned up to be displayed. A wide range of ages and sizes of machines, but organisers, the Vintage Motorcycle Club, insists none must be newer than 25 years old. Judges this year were Reg Gladding and Keith Hadfield, both VMCC officers. They awarded the Kev Irwin Trophy to a 1922 Raleigh Model 1, owned by Kev Crome. Second place went to a 1920 ABC scooter motor built at Somerton, Cowes, and it was originally registered as DL1661 and entered by Ron Taylor. Fred Salter's 1927 BMW R42 was third. In the 1931 to 1960 class, the Vectis Cup was run by Paul Denham's 1958 Velocette Valiant. It also won the Roy Bacon Shield for Best in Show. Second was another of Kev Crome's entries, a 1941 Norman Autocycle. Andrew Easton's 1938 Ariel Red Hunter was third. The Still Together trophy was awarded to a 1965 250cc Bultaco, owned by Pat Ward, and second was Jeff Leather's 1996 Ducati 916, while third was Don Wheeler's 1978 BMW R60. VMCC member, non-officer clubman of the year, was Mike Attrell. The event was also supporting the club's local charity for the year, the Isle of Wight Prostate Cancer Support Group. Club Secretary Ron Wallace said, "Thanks to the surprising number of people who came just to look at the machines and enjoy a biker's breakfast, it would appear after expenses there will be a few £100 going to a good cause. We must say a big thank you to Ventnor Winter Gardens for helping this event," he added.
Charity's milestone video. An anniversary video is marking the 35th year of wellbeing charity Independent Arts. Since 1987, it has supported islanders with a range of conditions, including dementia, depression, anxiety, Parkinson's and long COVID. For too much time, Independent Arts has been the hidden gem of the island's charity scene, said its chief executive, Lisa Gagliani. Around 500 people benefit from our sessions every week, and we want more people to know that. Before 1987, it was called Blow Your Own Trumpet. Since 2020, it has been based at the Creative Hub on Newport High Street. Its premises stands out thanks to its window displays, exhibitions and creative workshops. Independent Arts Chair of Trustees Jackie Heaney said, "If you take some time to draw, paint, sing or dance, it can take your mind off all the difficulties you have. An hour or two can really benefit you."
Man to face court after a road crash. A Wootton man will appear in court after 3 vehicles were damaged in a crash on Whippingham Road last Friday. Police were called shortly before 5:30 p.m. to the crash, which saw at least 3 cars damaged. Carl Isham, 38, of St Edmund's Walk in Wootton, has been charged with driving a motor vehicle without a licence, driving a motor vehicle with an alcohol level above the limit, and driving without third-party insurance. He is due to appear at the Isle of Wight Magistrates Court on Friday, April the 28th.
And we now move on to some white memories. Secrets of our churchyards. Churchyards may be described as akin to Marmite. You either find them interesting historically or you dislike them as they make you feel uncomfortable. But these burial grounds can hide a wealth of intriguing stories. I will relate just a few of these tales. In Ventnor Cemetery, situated in Upper Ventnor, can be found the grave of John Morgan Richards, an American businessman who lived in Steep Hill Castle, St Lawrence. His business interest involved cigarettes, and he went a long way in popularising the habit of smoking. In the marketing of his brand, Allen and Ginster, were Richmond Gems, Carter's Little Liver Pills, and Dr. Williams' Pink Pills for Pale People. The gullibility of some members of the public. Upon his death in 1918, the Times obituary quoted him as a pioneer of doubtful benefits. His surviving daughter, Pearl Craigie, who also lived in St Lawrence, was a published author writing under the name of John Oliver Hobbs. Taking a look at the churchyard of St Edmund's in Wootton, a grave can be seen set in the east side wall of the church. This is the grave of Benjamin Smith and Anne Longden. This is an interesting story of true love when Ben first set eyes on Anne. Coming from a wealthy family, Ben had inherited a brewery, but to marry a common seamstress was unacceptable to his wealthy family and friends. True love overcame, and Ben decided to ignore the conventions and live openly with Anne. During their time together, Anne had 5 children. However, in 1834, sadly, Anne died, and a grieving Ben threw himself into politics. All their children went on to lead successful lives. Ben died in 1860 and was interred with his love. Ironically, although not married, owing to conventions of the day, Anne was eventually buried bearing Ben's surname.
The next church is that of St Andrew's in Chale. Looking around the graveyard, one may find many interesting graves, such as the one of the captain of the Lotus, which ran aground off of Rocken End near Chale in 1862. The captain, William McNeill, perished along with 11 of his crew. and the cargo consisted of rum and sugar, and it was said rescue services had been too drunk to achieve an efficient rescue operation. It is also stated that the ship itself had been in such a poor condition that, come from the storm, the vessel could not withstand the seas and just broke up. Moving on to Ryde Cemetery, one can find the burial sites of the Carter family. Their history is one of a mixture of fact, fiction and folklore. Edward Carter was born in 1812 and during his marriage had 6 daughters and 1 son. He was a moderately wealthy landowner, besides having considerable stocks and shares investments. It is also fact that he was an important member of the then prestigious Victoria Yacht Club in Ryde, now called the Prince Consort. When he died, things took a strange turn. Following his death, the family house at Upton Cross near Ryde was locked up and kept in its original state, never to be opened or touched again. It was a Victorian time capsule of dampness, cobwebs and history, and up until the 1960s it remained untouched. Of course, legends abound of hauntings and bizarre stories, and one semi-fictional book was even written on the subject. Now it appears to be out of print. One story is that 2 of the sisters who survived remained recluses, eventually packing up and moving into the Upton Lodge house on the opposite side of the road. Eventually a mysterious fire destroyed the abandoned time capsule forever, but the stories did not finish there. It was said years later, when the remainder of the estate went up for sale, the adjoining coach house revealed original Victorian carriages. There are more stories to come from the island's churchyards.
And some more white memories. Murder trial raised eyebrows. It was just after 10 p.m. on a dark night in September 1905. An altogether nasty night, reported the county press. 3 sailors from the yacht Iolanthe had been ashore visiting Cowes pubs and were setting off from Watch House Slipway in a rowing boat to return to their yacht. When they arrived, there were only 2 men in the boat. One of the sailors was charged with murder. A sensational case, said the county press, and it was about to get more sensational. Initially, 4 men got into the boat, but one, William Barton, got out before it left. His evidence in the subsequent murder trial would raise some eyebrows. In the boat, when it pulled away, was John Kitchen, a small man of very quiet and inoffensive character. William Hockings, a man of considerable size and strength, and Albert Dallimore. When Hockings and Dallimore arrived at the Iolanthe, they told the captain that Kitchen had jumped over the side and they had seen him get out of the water at the slipway. He hadn't. Kitchen's body was found floating near the esplanade a few days later. An inquest heard how a group of locals watched them set off for the Iolanthe. The county press reported, the witnesses agreed that on the slipway Hockings had an angry argument with a man named Cotton. One said, when the boat put off, Hockings said to Kitchen, "That was your chum, and I will serve you the same if you say 2 words." Kitchen said, "I've done nothing." Then Hockings threw the oars down and went for Kitchen and knocked him about a great deal, striking him very heavily. Kitchen was a small man and was in the bottom of the boat while this was going on and did not try to hit him back. Dallimore did nothing to interfere. Henry Cawes of Cowes said, "I saw Hocking punching Kitchen unmercifully. I told him it was a cowardly bit of work." Kitchen took out his handkerchief and wiped the blood from his face as the boat put off. The inquest verdict was that Kitchen received his injuries from Hockings and died by drowning, but there was no evidence as to how he got into the water. Hockings was charged with murder, the county press reporting, "Outside he was cheered by a large crowd of his friends." The one man who did know what happened in the boat was third man Albert Dallimore, but he did not attend the inquest because he was dreading it. Something or someone was worrying him so much that the night before the inquest he hanged himself on board the Iolanthe. At the inquest into Dallimore's death, Captain Love of the Iolanthe was asked, "Did you have conversations about what took place in the boat?" "Yes, a good many. I asked him and Hockings what they had done with Kitchen, and they said he jumped over the side." Dallimore seemed low and depressed and asked me how he would get on. I said, "Tell the truth. Don't keep anything back to try and save other people."
I was not exactly surprised to hear he had committed suicide. He would take anything to heart. Barton was no keener on giving evidence than Dallimore. Barton told the court he could not say in which part of the boat Kitchen was. "You say you do not know?" Answer, "No, I don't." "Did you see any blow struck?" "No, I did not. I saw another boat and I was keeping my eye on it." "You could see another boat, but not what was going on in your own boat?" The answer was yes. "That is all the account that you can give of what took place that evening?" "Yes," was the reply. "The chairman, do you understand the oath you have taken to speak the truth and nothing but the truth?" To which he replied, "Yes, sir." "Then take care you do. It seems to me you need a caution very badly. Is that all the information you are going to give the court?" To which he replied, "I cannot give you any more." "Well, I must caution you that you are liable to be tried for perjury if you don't tell the truth." "That is the truth," he said. Hocking's testimony was equally worthless. He insisted nothing had gone on in the boat between myself and poor Jack. The judge pointed out that all the witnesses were agreed on what they had seen, and the only evidence that disagreed was that of Hocking's. The jury retired for 20 minutes and pronounced Hockings not guilty. There was some attempt at applause in court, which was immediately suppressed, reported the county press. And that was that. Hockings left the building a free man.
And now we have my view from Joe Plum. Much to talk about, but where to start? It's my first column, wow, check me out. I've spent the past couple of years on a mission to become a local celebrity, and this is a huge step forward. Watch out, Derek Sandy, I'm next in line to the throne. This is even bigger than when I was interviewed by Kay Burley on Sky News about the Platinum Jubilee. A new column, what on earth do I write about? The pressure. Do I keep it local and discuss pressing issues facing us islanders, like why are Island roads spending so much money upgrading the road signage when we all know where everywhere is? Or should I write a complaint about the phallic shape of the seats on the top deck of a Southern Vectis bus? When you see it, you can't unsee it. Or could I reignite the great county press letters page debate about whether it is IW or I small OW or I large OW? Or I could have a couple of wines and get all political and talk about Bob Seeley, in brackets. You know Bob, roll up the sleeves, take a picture of him with some garlic and cheese, sewage swimmer and devourer of 50% of a sausage bob. You remember him? Or I could show my support for those striking, exceptionally when it mildly inconvenienced me. Or I could make a plea to stop the police from having speed cameras and get them to sit in ice cream vans, rewarding careful drivers with a mini milk as they drive past instead. Or I could do some research into whether Sandown Pier really does deliver a whole day's fun in one. Or I can see if we can get a group together to reinstall the plastic tiger that used to sit on the top of the zoo. It's St. George's Day on Sunday, so I could do a piece about dragons or pubs or the best tea towels to buy for the upcoming coronation. It's also Shakespeare's birthday, so I could use that as an opportunity to celebrate all the incredible creative talent on the island. Now they get enough applause. Or do I use this column for my own benefit and try flogging some tickets to my next show? Or talk about why I think I should be the voice for the weather wizard, if they ever decide to bring that back at Blackgangchine? Or should I use this column for good? This could be an opportunity to officially launch the Mr. Randini Appreciation Society. I could start the campaign for Quivers and Drag Sensation to be the next High Sheriff. They'd look incredible with those feathers. Or start a petition to the council to replace Mountbatten's head with a statue of Kenny from Bite Size Burgers outside of the old Top Shop. Oh no, I've hit my word limit. Hopefully I will be able to come up with something to say next time.
And now a public thank you from Jenny Crates of Freshwater, who gives her heartfelt thanks to all who helped in the aftermath. The horrible and friended attack on Freshwater Causeway's much-loved swans on Good Friday, resulting in the eventual death of 2 of the colony, has shocked and distressed many people. I met a lot of people each day at the Causeway when I visit and feed the swans, and everyone is talking about what happened. I would like to say a heartfelt thank you to our marvellous police, especially Justin, for the effort they are putting into following this up and identifying the couple whose extreme thoughtlessness and lack of care allowed their dog to terrorise the swans, who was peacefully resting by the bridge. Everyone is so impressed by the hard work going into the investigation. I would also like to thank Yarmouth Harbour Commissioners for their help, and I know that they will consider our request for official signs at the bridge reminding dog owners of the need for care and control, especially for the first section of the path to Yarmouth. Most dog owners are extremely careful with their dogs, and we thank them all. Again, an enormous thank you to Edwina for raising the alarm, for Dave and Eve for their help, to Ted Burden for arranging treatment for the female swan the following day, and to my brave son-in-law, Inguio, for firstly locating the dying young swan almost getting stuck in the mud in the middle of the river, and secondly for rescuing the female swan on Easter Sunday so we could take her to Carrisbrook Vets. They in turn did so much to try to save her, but the nasty injury to her back and the trauma of the attack meant she died on Saturday night. The thriving colony of between 26 and 43 has been reduced to just 8. Some swans had already paired up and left, a natural springtime movement, but on Good Friday morning there were 26. Since then a group of 6 have flown off and another 10 have left. The colony has brought so much joy to so many local visitors, children and visitors. Our own mini Abbotsbury. Thank you to all of your readers who care, to the county press for such comprehensive coverage, and our love and prayers for the swans. God bless you all. If you know the couple and dog and who they are, as seen in the photo opposite the police have released, please come forward. The dog owners need to realise how much havoc and heartbreak has been caused by their actions.
And now some events that are happening. Circus will return this summer. One of the highlights of the island's events calendar, J. Miller's Circus, has confirmed it will be coming to town this summer. The family big top tent will be erected in its usual spot at Wootton's Racecourse roundabout. Talents from across the world will feature in the Ring Mistress Miss Leah's show, including Finland's Sebastian on the Wheel of Death, Cuba's Duo Raised with Strength and Balance, Hungary's Miss Savia, High Above the Circus upon the Cloud Swing, Ukraine's Jan Extreme Trio and their style of BMX, and much more. The familiar smiley face of Peppy the Clown will headline the Comedy Zone. The show will be open to the public from Friday, July the 21st to Tuesday, August the 29th. To book tickets, visit the J. Miller's Circus website.
The official Cowes Coronation Celebration Picnic in the Park occurs on from 12 to 5 p.m. on Sunday the 7th of May in Northwood Park. This is a free community celebration for Cowes. Just bring along your family, friends and of course a picnic. There will be lawn music on the stage, a family fun area, and plus we have the annual Fun Dog Show. More info can be found at northwoodhouse.org/events.
The Isle of Wight Art Club is holding a spring exhibition at Quor Abbey's Gallery. The exhibition is open daily until April the 25th from 10:30am to 4:30pm, and entry is free. The club is one of the oldest on the island and flourishing with 98 members, 37 of whom are exhibiting up to 140 original works of art. The art includes framed pictures, canvas pictures, unframed in the browser, miniatures and cards. One of the professional artists has been studying old master techniques with the Norfolk School of Painting with impressive results. So if you have always desired to own a Turner, this is described as a close match.
On Tuesday the 2nd of May, Deori Farrell, who's a world-renowned authentic Irish folk musician, will be appearing at the Irish Music Key Arts in C Street, Newport. It's 7:30pm and the tickets are £17. Deori is a single-handedly spearheading a resurgence of the authentic in Irish folk music, and he is rightly in demand all over the world. More info can be made by calling 01983 822 490.
And some events taking place at Shanklin Theatre. On April the 22nd, Lost in Music, One Night at the Disco. On April the 29th, Think Floyd. And then in May, on the 4th, Beyond the West End 2023. On the 6th of May, Genesis Connected. On the 7th of May, Francis Rossi, Tunes and Chat. On the 11th of May, Beyond the West End 2023. On the 12th of May, Chris McCausland, Speaky Blinder. On the 13th, Women in Rock. On the 18th of May, Beyond the West End 2023. On the 19th, June Field, World's Greatest Psychic. On the 20th, Go Your Own Way, The Fleetwood Mac Legacy. On the 25th, Beyond the West End 2023. On the 27th, ABBA Reunion. And on the 28th, Ventriloquist, A Life in the Day of Arthur Lager. And the box office for booking number is 868000.
On Friday the 28th of April, there's an astronomy talk, Fun for the Sun, Sundials for Stargazers. It's on at 7:30pm and it's called The Science of Sundials and Different Types with demonstrations, and it's at the Isle of Wight Observatory, Watery Lane, Newchurch, and you can call them on 01983 for more information, 522 693. And now we have some letters. Richard Ferraro, Freeba Bonchurch, writes about a flood risk, a town for boat lovers. It's curious to me that house prices in Yarmouth have boomed as they have, given the town's likely medium-term future, which is in the county press 7th of the 4th, 23. We all know that sea levels are rising caused by global warming and the melting of polar ice caps. According to the flood map published online by Climate Central, by 2050 a substantial part of Yarmouth will be below annual flood level. For a property for sale near a tidal river or the coast, Yarmouth has both, Perhaps estate agents should include in their sales brochure the height of a property above local water levels. For example, the height of a house above the highest tide achieved in a local river or the sea. Failing that, in my view, this information should be provided by surveyors in survey reports prepared for prospective purchasers so that flood risks can be assessed.
And this is from Sydney Cardew in Newport. School's duty is towards child. Questions over schools' transgender policies in the county press on the 7th of April. Ian Welby obviously has no conception of where a school's legal duties actually lie with regards to child safeguarding. Schools do not report to parents about a child's sexuality or gender identity because they cannot guarantee that a child will be safe from their parents' bigotry in a situation where a child would wish to conceal that information. The absolute safeguarding duty lies towards the child, not Mr. Welby's or anyone else's prurience. If he is concerned about this sort of scenario arising in his own life, he should question why a situation would arise where his own child would feel unable to share such profound and sensitive information with him.
Bob Blezard from Sandown says, "Come to meeting. I wish through your letters page to draw to the attention of Sandown residents that the annual parish meeting will take place at the Broadway Centre in Sandown on Monday, April the 24th. The Mayor, who is responsible for convening this meeting, has decided that the meeting shall commence at 6 p.m, the earliest time allowed by law, rather than 7 p.m, the usual starting time for bi-monthly town council meetings, which would have been more convenient for those arriving home from work. Nevertheless, I hope as many Sandown residents as possible turn up to make their views known about the town council's performance and also wider Sandown issues. The Town Council precept, which for 2023-2024 is £218.43 per Band D property, the highest on the island by some margin, and it will be a matter of interest to residents. This compares with £89.41 paid in Shanklin and £98.54 paid in Lake. Residents of the Bay enjoy broadly comparable levels of local government service. Why, therefore, is it acceptable for Sandown residents to be required to pay over twice the price for local services compared with those living elsewhere in the Bay? Fortunately, there is a solution to this injustice which Sandown residents, although I suspect not residents living in Lake and Shanklin, may wish to consider. The total precept for the 3 Bay councils this year amounts to £1,017,561, of which over 52% is paid by Sandown residents alone. If there was a single council raising this amount, the cost for Band D property across the Bay would be £132.17, a saving to Sandown residents of £86.26. Of course, with a single council, the overheads would be lower, with 1 rather than 3 separate administrations being required. There are 37 council seats on the 3 councils, although a number of people sit on more than one council, which suggests a desire to look strategically across the Bay. A single council would be run by 12 councillors, 2 for each of the 6 Isle of Wight council wards in the Bay. If you are a Sandown resident and think this idea has merit, please turn up to the meeting and call on the Town Council to ask the Isle of Wight Council to carry out a long overdue parish review in the Bay.
From Hans Bromwich in Cowes, beware privatisation of healthcare. I guess many people are wondering why our government is so intransigent when it comes to negotiating with junior doctors and nurses over pay. The answer is relatively simple, and yes, it is to do with money, but interestingly enough, not so much to do with junior doctor and nurses' pay. Their demands are relatively small beer when seen in the context of the much larger game being played out. The Conservatives need to move rapidly towards an American healthcare model, creating dissatisfaction with our NHS amongst patients with longer and longer waiting lists, in addition to stoking up disenchantment amongst NHS staff over pay and stressful understaffing, are all part of the game plan. The gradual erosion of our NHS dates back to when entrepreneur Jeremy Hunt became Minister for Health. In the early days, it was all about eyeing up the opportunity to make a financial killing by embracing the private, for-profit health sector. But things change, and today there are additional, more pressing issues driving events. Creating a toxic malaise amongst patients and NH staff is intentional. The unspoken message for patients being, if you want timely medical treatment, then pay and go private, while for NHS doctors and nurses it is, if you want better pay and conditions, then move to the private sector. So what are these additional, more pressing issues driving events, and why a new sense of urgency? It's very simple, really. Having trashed the UK economy, emptied the Treasury, and now faced with a stagnant post-Brexit future, the government needs to offload areas of unsustainable expenditure. In short, it needs to shift the cost and burden of providing health services onto the private sector, along with the often hidden astronomical costs associated with future pensions and meeting medical negligence claims. Will a privatised health service deliver better health care? Well, if you can undermine and create an NHS that is struggling at every turn, you can argue it will. But for an honest assessment, we need look no further than our privatised water utility companies. We've seen how the huge profits these foreign-owned companies make are swiftly spirited away out of the country, rather than reinvested in better services. Why should overseas private healthcare providers be any different?
R.P. James of Freshwater says government could pay junior doctors more. Why can't the government use some of the post-Brexit £350 million extra a week they promised the NHS to pay junior doctors and nurses? My calculation is that after leaving the EU on Friday, January the 31st, 2020 at 11 p.m, 168 weeks ago, this extra £350 million a week would have accrued to a staggering £58,800,000,000. So what it precisely has this huge post-Brexit windfall actually been spent on? Bailing out the Conservatives' £30 billion mismanagement of the UK economy by Liz Truss, perhaps. But that still leaves £28.8 billion. If you then take into account Boris Johnson's number 10 partying budget and wine bill throughout the pandemic, there should still be a few quid left in the Treasury coffers. So where has all this extra windfall money gone? The truth is that when it comes to paying junior doctors and nurses, the government could easily afford to. The reason they don't want to is purely a political choice.
And from Dave Talbot in Ryde, alternative career option for junior doctors. If junior doctors and nursing staff are discontent with government's pay increase offers, perhaps they should become members of Parliament instead. In 2008, a backbencher MP's salary was £60,675. This financial year, 2023-24, a backbencher's salary will be £86,584, up 42.7%. Conversely, and for rough comparison, junior doctors have received a 16.9% pay rise since 2009. Many, along with nurses, will also be saddled with significant student debt. It's strange that those in a position to dictate the pay of doctors and nurses have a salary mechanism that benefits themselves, but does not extend to those that the populace genuinely values and needs. What is the point in voting if the wishes of the electorate are largely ignored, and equally, is there any point in having a health secretary? Currently Steve Barclay, I despair.
And it's goodbye from Jerry.
And it's goodbye from Madeline.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Good evening. One of the main aims of In Touch has always been to investigate the things you ask us to look into. So I was delighted when we got an email from listener Nathan Tree asking us about something which has been bugging me for years because it seems to be on the increase. Just before we introduce Nathan to get this off his chest, let me play something to you that should illustrate what he's going to be talking about, except that in a way that's exactly what it doesn't do. You may see what I mean.
And in my wanderlust, I'll set my own course. I'll zag, not zig. And in the words of the great prophet Stevie Nicks, I'll go my own way. Will you?
Like your lamb, 100% British this Easter.
I like it like that.
Like your salmon, fresh from Scotland.
I like it like that.
I like it like that.
This Easter, don't change your lifestyle, change your supermarket.
Well, listening to that is Nathan Tree. Nathan, lots of enthusiasm there. What's missing?
The brand names and the products. I had no idea what any of those adverts were for.
Is that something you feel you've noticed more of?
Increasingly, yes. Generally, when I watch a television show, it might be one or two adverts per programme that I'm not sure what they're advertising to me because I can't see the screen. And there's so many things now that have audio description and are very well done. And then you find the adverts in between don't show what's being advertised to you. So it's almost like you're being excluded from the market. For me, it's a question of choice whether I want to buy a product or use a service. And it almost feels like they've decided that me as a visually impaired person doesn't need to know about that product or service. And I want to have that choice, that autonomy, really.
Have you complained about this directly to companies who do it?
I have started to. I've started tweeting at them. I've written to a couple. They don't often respond, to be honest. The party line kind of is we have other ways of advertising to people with visual impairment. But from my own work and my own research, I know that not everyone is, using all those different avenues. Some people only get their kind of window to the outside world from watching television when it comes to advertising. This is the only way they interact with that brand, and it's not good enough.
I mean, we'll go into this a bit more with our other two contributors, but the point is television is a visual medium. I mean, in a way, it's not surprising that the main concentration is on a visual message, is it?
Not necessarily. I think it's not just for blind and visually impaired people. A lot of people are watching television whilst doing other things, and they're being missed as part of the market as well. But also, we watch television in groups, in families and things like that. So just because we can't see the screen doesn't mean we're not interacting with that content.
Nathan, thanks for the moment. Do stay with us. Also listening to that is Zoe Waller, who's an executive producer of Studio Yes. Now, they're an award-winning video production company whose job is to deliver the messages their clients want delivered. Zoe, thanks for coming on. Why would you want to deliver a message that didn't mention the brand you were advertising?
It's an interesting question I've been pondering since I was posed it last week. Partially, I'm sitting in the experience of having listened to the adverts played audibly rather than visually. And I really kind of got the sense of the experience that somebody who is blind or partially sighted would have. So that was interesting.
And can you see how deeply infuriating that might be?
Oh, yeah, I mean, it grind my gears totally. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because I would find that a bit infuriating. And then after a while, I can see how that would build up. So I appreciate that as an experience that I just had. What I would say is there's, I suppose, some context being in my part of the advertising industry. So as a production company, we would get an idea and a budget through from a advertising agency. And we'd take a look at that. And one of those inclusions would be whether or not there's a creative reason to have the voiceover artist announce a brand at end, or if there's a creative reason to have what you would call an end card and a title card and just copy at the end. And the copy is just written text of what the brand is and kind of a call to action, as it were. Some of the brands may not have enough finance to pay the usage of a voiceover artist to announce or have a voiceover artist in the whole of the advert.
Is that because voiceover artists charge a lot for their services?
Yeah, I mean, for a TV advert, yes, they do. If it's a big brand, then the voiceover artist could charge a premium for what that usage was. The usage is what they get for being the voice of that brand for a particular time. That time could be 1 month, 2 months, 6 months.
And every time it goes out, they add a naught.
Well, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But what you have to understand is that voiceover artists, if they're working for a well-known brand, it means that they can't actually work for other brands that may be in conflict of that brand or have a clash with that brand. So they need to get paid well for what that time and usage is. And sometimes a brand just doesn't have the finance to do that. Then there might be a creative reason, which is why you don't have one. Sometimes brands can feel like the ad is more impactful without announcing it. And I would assert or assume that inclusion of those who are blind or partially sighted isn't something that they would be thinking of when they're making their creative, because I would assume or assert that the people that are writing the advert are doing it from I would suppose, kind of an ableist sort of way.
OK, so those are some of the commercial reasons, some of the reasons about usage. What about the actual rules? Also with us is Malcolm Phillips from the body which does regulate advertising, the Advertising Standards Authority, and Malcolm's its regulatory policy manager. Let's cut to the chase, Malcolm. Aren't companies who do this breaking any kind of rules? After all, they're making their adverts effectively inaccessible to a whole section of the community.
They're not breaking rules currently by doing that. The ASA system is there to ensure that advertising doesn't mislead people or harm them or offend them. But we don't impose the kinds of quota on audio described content, for example, that Nathan was talking about earlier when he was talking about programming itself. And the reason for that is that programming has always been understood as a public good. No one has ever conceived of advertising in quite that way. Although I take Nathan's point about it being the main point of information for some people, for commercial products. But fundamentally, people go there for the programming, and advertisers buy opportunities to talk to them in between the programming. And what they're always doing in that sense is making exclusions, right? Because they want to target particular audiences. If they want to advertise premium goods, then they're not going to be targeting kids programming. So they're always making exclusions, sometimes consciously, and sometimes, as in this case, I think, unconsciously.
Yeah, because one of the things that they're supposed not to do are do things which, are to the detriment of people who are seeing the adverts. Surely, if you can't see them and you're being excluded, that's to your detriment, isn't it?
I mean,
as a lawyer, I could argue that, I think.
I mean, certainly it seems to me very clear from what Nathan has said and from what we heard when we spoke with the RNIB about this some years ago, that it is to the detriment of blind and partially sighted members of the audience who feel excluded. And I don't mean to dismiss that for 1 second. But you have to understand that, as I say, we are there to prevent people from being influenced by advertising in a way that's ultimately to their detriment. And so that's the fundamental way that we think about detriment. But arguably, when you have a brand that isn't saying who it is, they're also experiencing detriment at that point, right? I mean, the advertiser that you played who said it's time to change your supermarket, Well, if you don't know which supermarket it is, potentially they're asking their own customers to change, right? Which isn't very good, or it might not be seen as very effective advertising.
Have you heard many cases based on complaints about non-verbal adverts or the non-mentioning of the brand being advertised?
It's something that we looked into when we did some work on what the consequences might be if people start to do more audio description. There's a reason why advertisers use the full range of means at their disposal to impart information in a television ad. It's because quite often they've got quite a lot of information to impart, and they're doing it in a 15 or 30 second space. So you're going to want to spend some time talking to the audience about your brand, and you might put some stuff on screen while you're talking that they can check out if they're interested in the offer. But if you do an audio described ad, you're faced with the challenge of trying to cram all of that information into a much shorter space.
Let me bring Nathan back, because that's interesting. We're moving on to the kind of things that might be able to solve some of these problems. I imagine your heart isn't bleeding for the advertisers, but nonetheless, some interesting points have been made.
Commercially, yeah, I understand where you're coming from with all this. But I'm very much aware of a specific advert, of a Lloyds Bank advert, where you've just got a horse running across the screen and no voiceover whatsoever.
When you don't know what you're gonna do.
So there is a possibility to put things into those kind of more artistic adverts. I've worked with advertisers before, and they take their job as an art. It's making something really beautiful, almost like a film in so many ways. And I think that, some of those ones, surely the voiceover would make that better for people to be able to engage with it as well.
Perhaps it's better to go back to Zoe with a Malcolm on that. Do you see the point that Nathan's making there?
Very recently, I had something sent to me with an audio described animatic, which for me was great because it meant that I didn't have to necessarily read something. However, it did make a 30-second animatic over 2 minutes long. So I wonder how this could work, but not elongate a 30-second advert. That's a quandary I'm in, so I can't answer directly your question yet, but I think that it poses a useful question to ask industry-wide. Is there something we can do? Because there probably is.
Well, we've raised some really interesting issues. We could probably raise a lot more, but we're going to have to leave it at that point for the moment. Malcolm Phillips, Zoe Waller, thank you very much for coming on and discussing this. And Nathan Tree, thank you very much for raising this. Now, if you were listening last week, you'll know that AI, artificial intelligence, could be playing an increasingly important role in the lives of visually impaired people. And commercial companies seem already to be cottoning on to the opportunities. For example, in offering help in how to get the best out of your makeup. Well, I must say, I don't use a great deal of makeup these days, so I thought I'd better hand over to our reporter, Fern Lulham, to explain what's going on.
Makeup and sight loss, a potentially dangerous duo if you don't know what you're doing. So I decided to put Estee Lauder's new app, the voice-enabled makeup assistant, to the test with two budding experimenters. The first, seasoned pro, fashion and makeup blogger, Emily Davison.
I've always been exposed to makeup. I've always enjoyed makeup. I wear it every day, and it's something that I'm very kind of involved with.
And at the other end of the scale, with all the artistic licence of a bull in a china shop, yours truly.
For best results, maintain a neutral expression, and if possible, keep both eyes open. To begin checking your makeup, say start.
Start.
Great, then let's get started.
But before we reveal our findings, I chatted to an executive director at Estee Lauder, Monica Rastogi, about what makes this app special.
There is nothing on the market currently that is able to do what this app is able to do. Using artificial intelligence, it is able to assess how the makeup is being applied on your face. So if you're applying lipstick, if it's, off to one side, if it's not perfectly even, and then is able to speak to you to help you individually on your own be able to correct that.
I detected one area for you to review. On your lower lip, There's extra coverage beyond the right section. Consider wiping off the extra lipstick around the outline of your lips. Would you like to touch it up now?
Yes.
It's very simplistic. It kind of goes through the fundamentals. It gives you a basic step-by-step guide on how to do makeup if you've done something wrong. Anyone looking for something a bit more advanced, like how to do a cut crease or something like that, maybe not as kind of useful in terms of that. But I think if you're just trying to start with makeup and you haven't got someone sighted who can help you, I can see this app being very useful for them. I think it's definitely got merit.
This app is one step in our journey to making beauty more accessible. We have to think about it holistically, everything from education to employee recruitment to what do our stores look like? Really, how do we embed it across the business? It must sit outside of just HR or just tech or just I&D so that we can drive it together and really make progress.
We are moving towards what I would hope to be a more inclusive society for consumers and consumerism. And I think there's a lot of emphasis on working with diverse people. And I think this is just one facet of this. It's one area that I still see lacking so much, that people can't actually walk into a shop and know what they're buying or be able to use something independently without aid. That definitely needs to change.
Okay, I'm checking it now. Let me share the instructions again.
I've got to listen to all the information again.
One of the things that we learned as people were using is a skip button to help people speed through the conversation flow as they're doing the makeup application. As with any app, we're constantly making iterations and improvements and ensuring that it's able to meet the needs of the consumer who's using it.
One thing that I would really like the app to incorporate is more options for shade matching and shade picking, because the biggest issue I have is colour matching, shade matching, finding shades that look good on me, and that's one of the things I still struggle with.
Your lipstick looks fabulous.
Finally, somebody who appreciates me.
The app is something that you can download from the App Store, and we are targeted to launch on the Google Play Store within the next year. While the technology is Estee Lauder companies, it can be used with whatever's in your makeup bag today.
Have fun with it, because I think sometimes when I was younger and I was trying to do makeup, it was really hard because I just felt like I was just constantly noticing my kind of shortfalls and where I was failing. But makeup's fun. Makeup's supposed to be about enjoying yourself. It's supposed to be about new, fun products that make you feel nice. And that's all it should ever be. It should never be anything but that.
It certainly feels like the beauty industry is starting to do more than just pay lip service to accessibility, and while the app continues to develop, I think it's building on a promising foundation, with immaculate coverage, of course.
Your foundation looks great. Would you like me to check anything else?
Nope, that's enough, thank you.
Fern Lellam, thank you. Well, finally, an important piece of news which will require some swift action if you want to vote in the upcoming English local elections on Thursday week. For the first time, you'll require photographic ID before you can cast your vote. In Scotland and Wales, this requirement will apply in future circumstances. Northern Ireland already has had this photographic requirement since 2003. Among the documents accepted as a proof of your ID are a driving licence, not too many of us have one of those, a passport and, more relevantly perhaps, a blue badge or a disabled person's bus pass. There is actually a long list of valid forms of ID on the Electoral Commission's website, but if you don't have any of them, you can apply for something called a voter authority certificate. And you can apply for this online or via a form that you can get from and post back to your local authority. And if you need help with this, you can call the Electoral Commission's helpline on 0800 328 0280. The deadline to apply for a voter authority certificate to vote in the English local elections is next Tuesday, that's the 25th of April. And that's it for today. You can add your comments about what you've heard by emailing in touch at bbc.co.uk. You can leave a voice message on 0161 836 1338 or go to our website for more information on bbc.co.uk/in touch. From me, Peter White, producer Beth Hemmings and studio managers Colin Sutton and Simon Highfield, goodbye.
The BBC In Touch programme follows, and the scaffolding news follows that. Scaffolding and skips news for the week commencing the 24th of April. In the Newport area, 64 to 65 Pyle Street, 8 St James's Street, 11 St James Lugley Street, Halifax 116 High Street, 62 Castlehold.
In the Newport area again, it's for skips, it's 84 to 85 High Street.
In the Ryde area, Wetherspoons 41 to 43 Union Street, 7A Esplanade, 6 Star Street, 120 High Street.
And skips for the Ryde area is 9 Daniel Street.
Skips in the Freshwater area, 20 Dole Square.
And in the Cowes area, 70 High Street and Zeal High Street.
And Shanklin area, 63 Regent Street.